Welcome to a non-social distance version of Between Two Bookshelves. We're here to talk about Sell Like Crazy
by Sabri Suby.
Yeah. And so I am Attilio and this is Ashley.
Yes.
And we're just gonna kind of review the book. Do you want to give it a quick little summary here?
Yeah, but actually before we get started, I did want to mention, and we say this in all our videos, we have Amazon links and different things like our Twitch channel that you can subscribe to, and all of those proceeds go to a nonprofit organization called Room to Read, and it just helps lower income communities get equal rights education and with a focus on literacy. So it's really cool that we can tie us reading a bunch of cool books back to helping the community. So check it out, buy some books.
Good reminder. Yeah.
Yeah, so the book Sell Like Crazy is basically I would describe it as a manual to maybe trying to get started. Really great for self-starters on taking your marketing to the next level. And it kind of went through step by step, started with like mindset and then describing who you're targeting and then executing on those things. So that's kind of it at a glance. What do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. It's really geared towards if you have a product or service that you can sell and you are the person who needs to put that stuff together, it's going to help you. I mean, he touches on pretty much like every phase of what it takes to sell what you've got to sell. Mm-hmm. The guy's got some pretty good experience. It reads very much like another like ClickFunnels or Russell Brunson book, if you've ever read any Russell Brunson books or followed some of his stuff. But yeah, manual for sure. It pretty much like literally walks you through everything you need. Yeah,
it breaks it into phases and they're chronological, so it kind of takes you step by step on how to stand out. So let's just jump right into it.
Yep.
So our first category that we judge the book on is readability. So how easy was the read? And we ordered it from the actual Sell Like Crazy site.
Yeah. So this is a lead magnet book. He's using this book as a way to generate people to go through his sales process, basically. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little hard to get a hold of. So we had to like buy the book and we weren't sure if the book was going to make it in time because we do these every 2 weeks. And so we also ended up buying like the audio book and stuff like that for it and the ebook and everything.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a
I think
hurdle.
After some digging, I was able to find it on Amazon, but it was like a resale person who like bought into the lead magnet and was selling on Amazon. So once we got a hold of the book, Attilio, I think, had the hard copy and audiobook, and I did the ebook. And like he mentioned, it was very similar to Russell Brunson and just kind of in layman terms. He explained everything super well. It was a very casual conversation as far as like his dictation of things. And so for me, readability was fairly easy. I actually had a little hack and I would open the ebook and like highlight like 20 pages and have Siri read it to me. And so it was easy. So for me, I have it written down that I have readability at a 1.8 just because it was really simple to me. But maybe that's also because I have prior knowledge, so I wasn't really having to like learn or digest. It was just like, oh yeah. Yep. So it wasn't really like the learning, I don't know.
Yeah, no. One of the big things that kind of stood out to me was I feel like a lot of the books that we read have a lot of redundancy to them. And it's like they're taking one point and they're just like extrapolating on it, And this book wasn't that. This book, I felt like it did a really good job on just like telling a story, getting to the point, and like explaining why that matters. And so for that reason, I didn't think it was like very boring by any means. And it was honestly like kind of quick. I don't know if it was like a pleasure to read because I did have a lot of like prior knowledge. It's definitely not like, I mean, there's definitely like some nuggets in the book, but it doesn't like break your brain with all this like new information. So it was pretty like tepid, I'd say, for the most part. So readability wise, I'd give it a 1.25. I'll give it a 1.25.
Okay, so 1.8, 1.25. And then our next score is relevancy. So how relevant was it to its field? And I would say, I don't know what year this book was written, but it had to have been like last year or the year before, maybe.
Yeah, a couple
maybe
years
2018.
old, probably.
It's super relevant. It has a lot of examples in the book, which is really cool. Just kind of real life examples, ad examples. So it's very relevant to, I think, what he's trying to deliver on. I think he did deliver. So for me, relevancy is super simple. I have it at a 1.25, just because I didn't think I was like blown out of the water with the information, but that might be, like we've already mentioned, our prior knowledge, because I don't know. In the preface and the introduction, he made it sound like y'all have been waiting for this one. Like there is some secret sauce in here, and I feel like it wasn't that secret, but it was laid out really well for somebody who's just learning it.
Laid out like fundamental, like really a foundational book. For that reason, I thought it was like, if someone has never read anything, this is a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you gave it a score 1.25? Mm-hmm. Not bad. So yeah, I mean, foundational book, very geared towards like a digital age, digital entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Moving into the digital world. And I think a lot of people weirdly still aren't in that mindset. And so I think it's kind of like a good introductory book. Mm-hmm. He does have a couple things that he kind of like packages a little differently for his own taste. So he has like a certain offer strategy, and he calls it his certain things. And then he has a certain strategy for upselling, and he has like that packaged in his own way. And he kind of explains like, listen, people don't care about you. They literally only care about themselves. And like, so there's like really good reminders, really good nuggets for digital age or not digital age. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it a 1.5 for.
Yeah. And I think to touch on what you were saying about how this is really good for people kind of stepping into the digital age, in the beginning of the book, he mentions like, if you're wanting to basically scale your business and sell it crazy, you're no longer a baker or a home builder, you're a marketing and sales person, because you need to market and sell your service or product. And so that, I think that is the idea for his book. But anyways, I think
we've seen that as a common theme, actually. I think in Plan D, they even mentioned, like Apple is not in the business of, they're not in the hardware business. They're in the selling iPhones business. They're in the selling iMacs business.
Yeah.
And so super common thread, which tells me that there's some high level thought going on.
For sure. For sure. So we have applicability. So what did you think on his things? Were they easy, or did they seem easy to apply?
Did they seem easy to apply? Okay, so this is a little bit of a double-edged sword here. This is literally what we do. So like, Hone Digital Marketing is the company that we work in. And so we literally like apply this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I agree in a lot of cases to exactly what he's saying. Applying it to me is like normal, right? Mm-hmm. But I remember when I was first getting into the field, it did take some time. You really have to kind of like tease through a bunch of stuff. He didn't really give like software example. He didn't like lay it out for you. Like, this is how you do it. It wasn't maybe.
But that's part of the lead magnet.
Yeah, like he explained what you need to do.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like, go here, do this. So
Click
it wasn't
this
like, it wasn't like spelled out necessarily, which is good and bad in its own ways. Like, it makes it so that you can kind of just apply it across the board, no matter where you're in. And in a lot of cases, I think that this is the only thing that businesses need, period. Because the only thing that really does matter is sales, like really. And in order for sales to be successful, you need to have a product that works. And so everything kind of like branches off sales essentially. And so like you can't sell very well if you're selling crap, you know, so it's like, so you have to reflect, like you have to make sure you don't have crap in order to sell really well, right? So, you know, there's a lot of things that kind of like reflect off of stuff, but it all beats around the bush of sales. And so in a lot of ways, that's how I kind of found it like super applicable. It's easy enough where you literally could just be reading it and be doing something with sales and be like, oh yeah, I could just do that too. Because literally I was putting together sales decks while I was listening to the book, and I was like, oh yeah, I should not even have this part in here because that's just self-serving or something, you know. So yeah. I thought like I'm gonna actually give it a 1.9 for applicability. Cool,
that's a really high score. So yeah. We didn't mention this in the beginning, but if you're new, we're ranking it out of 2. 5 categories that will add up to, if they get a 2 out of 2, 10 points overall. Yeah. So for me with applicability, I thought the front end of the book was a lot easier in theory to apply than the back end of the book. Because the front end of the book is kind of the fun stuff. It's like, okay, who's my target market? Okay, what does this person do at 8 a.m. in the morning? And what do they do at lunch? And just trying to build out your buyer persona and then how to target that person and to frequent where they frequent. And so it's just kind of the idea of really honing in on who you're trying to sell to. And it kind of gets you back to the why. Like, why are you doing this? Who is this person you're trying to help? And so I think that's super simple, just going step by step, like writing those things out, figuring out who you're targeting. And then the harder part, I think, is the second half of the book when it really focuses on the sales and the closing and implementing that verbiage. Because, I mean, that takes practice. Like, he has a lot of, like, sentences and quotations marks, like, examples of what you should say and when you should say it. And that, to me, is hard to apply. So I give mine a 1.5 because I think it lays it out well. But it's not just like super, super easy.
I think I've seen a lot of this stuff too, where it's like talking about the logo is easy to do, like when you're starting a business or when you're doing things. So like, and it's because the level of rejection is like so minimal, right? Like I could be like, you know, I think the home logo would look better in blue. What do you think? And you can be like, yeah, or not. Yeah. And it's like, okay, whatever. Okay, great, great. Yeah. But when you're like actually getting rejected from someone, so maybe that's something he could have like maybe touched on a little bit more, like how to just kind of handle that, which to him in his story, it kind of seemed like he was just natural at forgetting about rejection and stuff like that.
But he learned early in his story.
That's where I think a lot of the difficulty comes in from, because
I think that's a good way to put it.
Really, like that's what it is. Like you don't want to say something to someone because literally you have fear of getting rejected from them by saying that thing, or you're afraid of like taking it to that spot where you're like, or like having okay, that's a little uncomfortable.
Imposter syndrome, like anxiety, that kind of stuff. Yeah, like the first half of the book is definitely more internal. Versus the second half is external, dealing with people. And this is kind of like mind mapping and planning, and this is executing. So anyways, value versus expectation.
Okay, so this was a lead magnet book.
He pumped it up. He retargeted me. I've seen Sabri Suby on my Facebook for about 2 weeks straight now.
He pumped it up. He did talk about it a lot. I'm going to keep this easy because holy crap. I'm going to give it a flat 1, and
that's my score.
It's straight up because he pumped it up super high. I'd never really heard of him. I don't even know how it got on the list.
I think it was you.
It was probably me, and I probably had just like
heard it somewhere.
Heard it, yeah. Like I think like some people just talk about it in some of the circles that I run, and so I'm just going to say like it was good. It didn't blow me out of the water. I thought it was good. He hyped it up like crazy. So value versus expectation, it kind of zeroed out to 1.
So my score is a flat 1 actually as well. Just because the targeting and the videos behind, so his ads that he was running are all videos, and it's telling you like how I made $400 million across my clients, and you know, my life is magical and all of this stuff. surrounding the book. And so with that, it's hard to not have expectations of finding like the secret code within the book. And I don't think that exists. I think that's within yourself. But so it had really great information.
Just dropping bombs though, within yourself.
But it had really great information. But like Attilio mentioned earlier, this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. And so I think if somebody were not in our shoes and was the baker who's stepping into the marketing agency world or digital marketing world, this would be maybe a little bit more compelling. But for us, it ran flat, and not necessarily in a negative way, but just it wasn't like earth-shaking.
I think we've just seen a lot of information from this stuff already, and so we kind of understand. And I think this kind of goes back to, it's going to be crazy. We're reading more books this year than we have our entire lives, and so I think we're seeing a lot of common threads, and so it's going to be really interesting to maybe even go back and look at some of the books that we've already rated compared to like 25 other books that are all about mindset.
Yeah.
Or like.
That's true. This one is very different from what we have been reading, because this one's I feel like it's a lot more rigid of a book compared to the other books, as in it has, like, it's focused on digital marketing and selling, and the other ones are a lot more vague on how you can apply it, depending on where you're at in your life. So anyways, our next one, our final score, is the butterfly effect. And that's just, did it give you butterflies? Are you excited? Are you going to conquer the world now? Did it give you butterflies?
Yes and no. So it definitely amped me up, refocused me on sales, right? I'm always kind of like, have been focused on sales because I'm the business owner. And so it's like, you have to do that. Like, if you don't have sales, you're dead in the water. If you don't have a pipeline, you're dead in the water. If you focused maybe on like what kind of things I need to look at, like, oh yeah, we do have a conversion rate issue here. Oh yeah, we do have a closing issue here. Oh yeah, we could stand to have a better offer here. We should go crazy with the guarantee. We should remove all risk. We should do that. So it did kind of amp me up, but it wasn't anything that I didn't know that we could use already.
It was just like a call out.
Yeah. It kind of like called me out, and it's like, yeah, I could use a nurture sequence, but I need to have like more cash flow here in order to justify that there, and then do that. And so it kind of like, it reshaped and reframed exactly what we could use and what we couldn't need. But some of it is like, I think being in it, we know exactly what implications are involved in doing that. And so it kind of put a little critical thinking. So butterfly effect, I'm going to give it a 1-1.
Yeah, and I think all of the things that you're talking about are very reliant on your prior knowledge.
Yeah.
Because for somebody who's just now experiencing this or learning about it, it could be like, oh my gosh, I'm about to scale the shit out of my business right now. And
$1 into $2, let's go.
Like he talked about one of his clients who were home builders, and they went from $0 to $7 million within 12 months, I think is what he was saying, with this system. And so that I can really see being exciting for somebody. For me, it was about a 1.25. At the beginning of the book, when it was more internally focused, like we've mentioned, I think I was more excited. And I was telling them I've been applying a little bits and pieces of it here just by accident because it's just in my head. So I gave it a 1.25. I'm not ready to conquer the world after reading this book, I don't think. But it didn't like fall flat. I wasn't like, that was a waste of my time. Yeah. So I think there's definitely some super awesome. If you're in digital marketing, this is a good book. And I actually feel like we've said this a lot. This is a good refresher. This is a good this is a good book to kind of remind you of some things that are out there as far as options and things that work well in a system.
It's a foundation book.
Yeah.
That's what it was to me.
Yeah.
Like fundamentals. Mm-hmm. But
I liked it. It wasn't bad. I think where it falls flat for me is the value versus expectation. I just was expecting the world.
He did have a disclaimer This is not a silver bullet. This
Yeah,
is not
he
a
did say
laptop by
that.
the beat. So, and I think it's kind of crazy. People say that, I think just to kind of like flatten out the naysayers who are like big skeptics on the book.
It's kind of their insurance.
Yeah, it's like their insurance policy, really.
Yeah.
Because they're like, yeah, I made someone go from 0 to 7 million. But the chances that you do that and you do that by yourself is like, because remember, this is still a lead magnet book for him. So he has to be able to be like, oh, you tried everything in my book, but still didn't get that 0 to 7 million.
Let me help you.
Let me help you.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you'd have to be crazy not to do that, right?
Maybe not everybody watching understands the lead magnet.
Right. So he used this book specifically as like an initial offer, a really like too good to be true offer, where the book is free. You just have to pay for shipping, and the free plus shipping is a killer. But basically, he wants to get your name and email, so that way he can follow up with you with emails and ads and just a bunch of things. To start getting you into his pipeline so he can work you over time and eventually you'll become a customer of his. And it's one of the principles in his book. So if you go to the Sell Like Crazy site and you go through his process, that in itself is a learning process. Like you can learn how people are going about getting digital leads, how they're going about, driving traffic, one, from like ads, getting the digital lead, and then turning that lead into possibly a customer on one thing or another thing.
Yeah.
And so this book was one little piece of the puzzle up at the top, so that way you can kind of just really easily say, oh yeah, $10. I could see how someone did this with that. It's worth my $10 in 2 minutes to like listen to him. So that's basically the whole like purpose of the book. It's the same thing if you've ever seen like a checklist online or I don't know,
like a PDF or
like
an ebook or something.
PDF or ebook or something that might be of interest to you, or like how, like, were you just in a flood? Take a look at this. You could be compensated more from your flood insurance, or like get this $69 offer for your wax or your laser hair removal thing, and just like you just opt in for the coupon or something. So.
And then you're on their list forever.
Yeah, and then you're on their list forever. So that's basically what it is.
So knowing that might put a little bit of haze in your focus if you're wanting to get through this book. But there are a lot of small things that you can implement within this book. Don't feel like you have to hire Sabri Suby in Australia to take care of all of your stuff. But my overall score was a 6.8.
We're pretty on lock. 6.75. Yeah.
Pretty close, yeah. So 6.8, 6.75 out of 10. So I think it's an okay book. I probably will read it anytime soon again. There's some books I feel like, ooh, I'm going to read this a couple times a year. I'm going to read this once a year or something like that. But I did highlight a few of his examples to go back and look at. So
solid. Well, I guess with that, we can close it out.
Yeah.
6.75, 6.8.
Yep.
Cool. That's right. That's right.
And our next book, I don't remember the author, so we'll have to edit the author in here, but it's Cilantro Diaries. I mentioned this before on our Facebook page. Yeah, look it up real quick. It was written by a San Antonio guy, San Antonio, Texas, and it's super cool, and it's, I think, only available on Amazon or your local bookstore, but it's not on Audible or anything like that.
I think it is on Audible.
Oh, it is?
By Lorenzo Gomez.
Oh, I stand corrected.
Yeah, or Apple Books. Yeah, it looks like it's kind of everywhere.
Shoo,
And this is one you recommended.
Yes, I got it for Christmas from my aunt who lives in San Antonio, and I actually really, really liked the book, so.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So we have you've pre-read it already, like My Delivering Happiness.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
well, we are excited then, and I guess to close this out, definitely check out our book for next time, the Cilantro Diaries. If you want to take a look at any of our books or any other reviews that we've been doing, check us out on YouTube or on Twitch. In all the descriptions, you can always find a link to just go grab the book really quick. And again, all of those profits go directly to Room to Read, which is a nonprofit that we're partnering with. So hopefully by the end of this year, we can give them a nice fat check or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see how quickly we start getting some of these things
that would be sweet. Also, before we leave, and we promise we'll let you guys go, we are going to do, we haven't figured out the title yet, but of the books we've read so far, our top 3 books that if you haven't been reading like you're supposed to, that you definitely need to put on your list before the end of the year. So
it's gonna be exciting.
Keep a lookout for that video.
Sweet.
Bye guys. See you later.